All right, today is going to be Rip City Liquidators. We got a blowout sale going on, Godfather.
Oh, again? Oh, man, what do we got today?
Chris Burkhardt
We're
has
giving
just
away
informed
Chris
me.
Burkhardt?
No, I
Okay.
wish. He's mad at me right now for a variety of different reasons. The list is long. He's going to beat me up one night.
Yeah.
I thought it was going to be last night. I told him that I have to enjoy my friendship with him as much as I can right now because a couple of months from now, he's no longer going to talk to me. And mostly work related, which is fine. But we have E-Pre tickets that we're going to give away. That's coming up at PIR. We have tickets for the Thorns, and we also have Hops tickets. So we got a lot of goodies to give away today coming off of yesterday's show where we dedicated it to the life and the way he lived, Bill Walton, and I enjoyed the conversation. You can podcast it. We had some great interviews, Dave Twardzik, Danny Ainge, David Lucas, and the Dean of Portland Sports, Kerry Agers. If you want to reach out, you can join us on our YouTube live stream. Just go to youtube.com and pull up our homepage, Rip City Radio 620, which Chris Burkhardt set up. And you can go to our homepage there. You'll find the live links to our shows, and you can take part in our live stream where you can see us in studio. Not sure you want to do that because Dwight and I are not the most handsome guys on the planet, but take part in the group chat. If you want to reach out today, 503-248-0620 is your telephone number. So we got goodies. We got a lot of things to talk about, including the all too early preseason rankings for college football. The Oregon Ducks right now looking very strong in the eyes of many as they get ready for their first season in the Big Ten. I can't wait because I'm a Dylan Gabriel fan. He played at my team, Oklahoma, last year. The last couple of years, he was tremendous last year, and I think it's going to be a seamless transition from Bo Nix to Dylan Gabriel. It's not too often you can go from great quarterback to great quarterback in back-to-back years with that type of experience, someone who can come in and be a natural-born leader. And I've already heard great things about him in terms of being one of the guys, really fitting in well with the players on the team, and just being the Dylan Gabriel that I know. I think Duck fans are going to be even more pleasantly surprised than they think they are right now. That's how good this guy is. I love Dylan Gabriel. That's a man of character, great quarterback, very accurate, smart, and a ton of experience, which you need when you're trying to win a national championship. I'm pumped for that.
You know, I think, Chad, a quarterback probably is the most equipped guy in a transfer portal to fit in with your team because of the personality it takes just to be a quarterback.
Yeah.
I mean, he comes from an environment where he was the leader. People listened to him. He had to keep everybody happy as part of his job. He knows how to get along, how to be one of the guys. Easy transition for him, just like it was for Bo Nix, I'm sure.
All right, Godfather. Last night, the Minnesota Timberwolves get a win in Dallas. They hold off elimination. They were facing the sweep. They were down 3-0, and they get the win. And now they go back to Minnesota for Game 5 tomorrow night on TNT. That game will tip off at 5:30. Now, we have not seen it in basketball where a team down 3-0 has won 4 straight to take a series. We saw it happen in baseball with the Yankees and Red Sox. It's very unlikely, but I told you yesterday before the game started that if you look at a series, this could be the perfect storm. If a team's going to pull it off, it would be the Minnesota Timberwolves this year because, one, they play great defense. Two, the separation between Dallas and Minnesota is not great. They're very evenly matched, and the 4 games so far in the series have been close. And now they get a chance to go back home. Chances are they're going to get a win. So now it comes down to a Game 6 in Dallas. Can they get another win in Dallas to force a Game 7? I don't think they will, but they're definitely capable of that. And I'm glad they got the win last night because I love these two teams playing. The 4 games have been tremendous, and I was just impressed with the guttiness that they show because it would have been very easy for the Wolves, who had played 3 close games and come up short all 3 times, to just lie down. But they battled, and most importantly, they got Edwards and Cat to play well at the same time. Much needed.
Yeah, I would agree. I'm not ready to say they're going to win the game at home, the next game at home. I hope they do because I'd love to see that Game 6 you're talking about back in Dallas.
Yeah,
with everything on the line, really. And I'm just not sure yet. Yeah, you won. It's not a sweep anymore, but it could be a gentleman's sweep if you don't pay attention. I think, though, Minnesota has 2 big things going for it. Number one, they're the top seed. They got to win 3 games, but you know what? 2 of those games are going to be in Minnesota. They're home games. Not that anybody in this series can't win road games, but it is an advantage. Number 2, Dallas is not the most well-balanced team in the NBA. They got 2 guys that have to score, okay? that makes you, I think, much more prone to problems than one of these well-balanced teams where they can find scoring just about anywhere. So let's just say Porzingis returns to the Boston lineup in the finals. They got three guys who could score big and another couple guys who can score enough. And so they're harder. It's harder for them to have a bad game. Dallas can have a bad game. Look, Luka did. I didn't like Luka's game at all. It looked to me in the second half like he wasn't looking to score as much as he was to pass. But the big thing was he makes the clutch three-pointer, gets fouled, and then misses the free throw. That's not Luka. He doesn't miss that free throw. But he's a great free throw shooter, number one. But number two, in the clutch, he's even better. So I was surprised at that. But if he has a bad game, if Kyrie doesn't play up to snuff, Minnesota can take care of business against them.
Well, I expect them to win Game 5 at home and force that Game 6. I really want to see that game, but really the issue last night for Dallas was exactly what you said. Luka and Kyrie did not shoot the ball well. It's easy to win the first three games when those two guys are going for 30 plus.
Yeah.
And that didn't happen last night. I think what impressed me the most was the adjustment that Karl Anthony Towns made. He had been struggling big time through the first three games, hadn't shot the ball well, but last night, instead of just settling for the three, early in the game, he was aggressive attacking the rim, and he got a couple of easy buckets to go down. And a lot of times for a player, that can help with the confidence. And then as he got into a rhythm, then he started to look for the three-point shot. He was 4 or 5 from downtown. Those two guys combined for 54. Their magic number is usually 60 points between the two of them. They got 54. Edwards and Cat both played well. But I thought Towns setting the tone early by being aggressive and attacking the rim, getting some confidence. He shot the ball better, and Minnesota able to get the win. It's amazing how that happens for a player, right? If you're struggling from three, don't keep jacking the three. Look to drive and get an easier bucket or get to the foul line so you can get into a rhythm, and all of a sudden the rim starts to get a little bit bigger for you, and you can make some shots.
Yeah, for sure. But, I also don't agree with Shaq and Barkley all the time. Get under the basket where you belong. Don't be out there shooting threes. No, threes are a part of his game, and you said it exactly right. Get your shot. Get it dialed in a little bit by taking some easier ones, get a little more confidence, then you move back. But don't eliminate those threes because that's a big part of what he has done all season long is make threes.
I think big men are they're programmed to look at other bigs and say, look, get down there on the block. But that's not the way the game is played. Yeah, the old timers.
Oh, man.
Shaq was a back-to-the-basket type player.
That's
Barkley
all he had.
Did his damage for the most part inside, but Towns is not a back-to-the-basket type player. You're not going to run post-up plays for him. Mm-hmm. He was putting the ball on the floor, attacking the rim, and then once he got into a rhythm, he was able to make some shots. So I want this series to continue because so far the series has been great. It's weird. Dallas is up 3-1, but the 4 games have been very compelling, very contested, and both teams are playing tough defense, a lot of hustle. You can tell that these two teams want it. This is a good battle. So I want this series to breathe a little bit and expand. And hopefully we can get to that all-important Game 6 in Dallas to see how Minnesota handles that pressure, and Dallas as well.
Yeah, I've been watching some AAU ball the last few days, streaming it. Now, the IBL is on now, and I wanted to see LeBron's younger son. Oh. He's playing in the IBL, which is kind of the Nike AAU league, I think. And he's going to be better than Bronny. He's a better player. He can shoot the ball a little bit, which Bronny hasn't shown any sign of being a big-time shooter. This one looks like he could. But you watch their game, and it's like you talk about post-up players. If you posted up in AAU basketball right now, you would never see the ball. Nobody is going to throw you the ball. Everybody's on the perimeter. Everybody's looking around for a chance. Just take the ball, drive, or take the ball and shoot it. That's about all there is, and that's all kids are learning. I don't think anybody's spending any time. Maybe they're high school coaches who are more traditional coaches. They might be working with kids with their back to the basket, but in the summers where they play all those games, nobody's doing that.
AAU is a sore subject for me because the way we're developing basketball players now is the reason why the Europeans are starting to take over the NBA.
Yeah. Yeah, it is. Because they're getting traditional fundamentals in Europe that they're not getting here.
And they're playing against bigger, stronger, older men, which is better conditioning them for the NBA, which is not as physical as it used to be. And so now when they come over to the States and jump in the league, they're more ready for the games, unlike they were in the past when Europeans would come to the league in the late 80s, early 90s. They had never played such a brand of basketball that was so physical, and they struggled with that type of adjustment. But now, the fundamentals have changed. The game has changed here in the States. Players are being developed differently. There's no more Pete Newell big man camp.
Yeah.
It's just a different game. And unfortunately, we've got to find a way to change the way we're growing these players, or we're going to continue to fall farther behind.
And today, Chad, a lot of the European players are more physical than our guys are. They're coming over here and pushing you. I mean, look at Luka. I mean, he'll back you in, bump, bump, bump. He'll wear you out trying to guard him. That's what I worry about Edwards taking him on. Yeah, that's a full night right there just on the defensive end.
I love Luka, but he, like so many of these other stars, every single time they go up for a shot, if the whistle isn't blown and they don't make the bucket, they immediately look to the official and start whining. It's unbelievable to me.
Know.
And Luke is so crafty because if he doesn't make the shot, he's so good at drawing contact and accentuating the contact that was made to make sure that he gets the whistle. He's a wizard at that type of play.
Did you see Peter Vessi's tweet about that? He said something like, I've never seen a player work so hard to get fouled and then cry so much when he does.
Yeah. It's unbelievable to me.
Yeah.
That's the part of the European game we don't like. But he's just playing the game the way it is, and that's what stars do. And we'll see how things continue to play out. But Game 5 tomorrow in Minnesota, 5:30 tip on TNT. Right now the Wolves are a 5.5-point favorite. All right, Chris Burkhart's here. Dwight's here. I'm here. You got the Rip City Drive. We got a bunch of goodies to give away, so stay tuned for your chance to win. When we come back, we'll dive into Bronny James, his draft status, the game plan for Rich Paul, and what LeBron's plans are with his NBA future now that he's a free agent. And we'll hear from Chris Haynes and get his insight on the situation as well. You got the Rip City Drive with Dwight and Chad. All right, coming up here in about 20 minutes, we're going to begin our Rip City Liquidator Day. We have 2 4-packs of tickets for the Portland Thorns to give away.
Yes!
When they take on Kansas City on June 23rd at Providence Park. We also have a 4-pack of tickets for the Hops because it's Hops Ticket Tuesday.
Booyah!
And we have 2 packs of tickets for the Hankook Portland E-Pre. June 30th at PIR.
Burkhart working the sound effects machine. Huh?
He is. He's on top of things today. I love
like
Burkhart.
it. Yeah.
Like I said, I'm going to enjoy my friendship with him as long as it lasts. The ends of the hourglass is filling up with sand. My time is running out, Godfather. So I've got to enjoy it while I can. He's going to knife me. Yeah, he is. I've been irritating Burkhart a lot lately.
Leave the building before he does.
I know. I got to watch my back.
If he goes out first, he's going to be hiding behind a bush somewhere.
But Burkhart's a classy man. He won't knife me in the back. He'll do it to my face so that I know who the perpetrator was.
Why?
That's me, man. I'm a lover, not a fighter. I'd be on the ground. Why, Godfather? Why?
You pull that, I just turn around and walk away, man. I don't want to hear that.
All right, we're going to hear from Chris Haynes. He was on Fox Sports Radio today with DP. And, well, 2 different things we're going to hear from Haynes in a moment on Rich Paul's ultimate plan with LeBron and Bronny, but also what if a team drafts him and wants to put him in the G League? So we'll hear from Haynes in a moment. But Godfather, in the newsletter from Tom Ziller today, he discussed Bronny's draft grades. And in the prospect rankings, ESPN moved Bronny up from 98, which is the undrafted range, to number 54, which is draftable based off of measurements and combine drills. There's really 2 different explanations for his change in ranking.
Yeah.
What do you think's going on there?
Well, it's kind of interesting to see a guy go up 44 spots without really playing a game or
Off a
anything
combine.
Yes. But there's 2 explanations, and Tom provided some thoughts on that. The first is that draft rankings are kind of unreliable and crazy in the first place. I mean, it's your opinion. You talk to scouts, you're going to see a lot different rankings, even among the scouts. But you don't see prospects move up 40 spots in a 100-player field based off some workouts. That just doesn't happen, and it makes the draft analysis kind of look shaky. But the second possible explanation is that it's just all a game, not by Bronny either, but ESPN. Their draft team, and I doubt it's the writers and the analysts. It's undoubtedly the producers and the editors behind the scenes trying to make it a bigger story. They're trying to hype Bronny as much as they can. I mean, if this was Chad Doing out there on that draft list, nobody would pay any attention.
You speak for yourself, man.
Well,
I'd crush it.
no, I'm just talking about.
But do you think ESPN is also trying to do favors for LeBron?
Oh, Chad. Well, they would never do something like that. They turn their Sports Center over to him half the time. I mean, yeah, absolutely. There's a partnership there.
Because
There
if you
is no
change his
question.
rankings, you put him in a draftable range.
Yes.
And obviously they're trying to get Bronny drafted.
He went from the 90s, which is undraftable. He's not going to get taken, which would, pave the way for a 2-way contract. Or you move him up into the 40s. That's a second-round pick. That's a big jump for a guy to make based on workouts, measurables, jump reach, all that stuff. You just don't see anybody move up that high. So I think it's an effort just to burnish Bronny's reputation a little bit, make him look like a better prospect because it's a better story for them.
So this is ultimately a grand scheme by Rich Paul and LeBron to manipulate the situation to have some control over Bronny's future.
Absolutely. Absolutely. That's what this is all one great manipulation by LeBron. Really is. Because you talk about Rich Paul. Rich Paul is LeBron's lifetime buddy. He's doing LeBron's bidding like he always has.
Absolutely.
And there's just no question about this.
Just like when Paul comes out and says that LeBron has nothing to do with the head coaching hire in L.A.
Yeah. And I mean, it's a conflict of interest anyway that he's involved in a player agency. He shouldn't be. Now they're going to say, well, he doesn't have any financial interest. He's not a partner, blah, 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 blah. Okay, whatever. People know the truth. Everybody knows he's behind that he's the guy pulling the strings.
Of course.
He's trying to orchestrate the whole draft of his son. He's trying to make sure that the kid is drafted on his team and that he gets a nice contract to go with it. So he's got security, probably even after LeBron leaves the team when he retires. The kid will still have a deal. So I find it just obnoxious. I think it's detestable, first of all, that a father would do that to his son, because I don't think he's doing his son any good.
Yeah, because you want to be able to arrive in the league on your own merit, not something that your father's able to put together. Here's Chris Haynes on Fox Sports Radio with Dan Patrick discussing Rich Paul's ultimate plan.
Well, I think first, I'm going to answer a couple questions a couple ways, DP. So first of all, I think what he wants is Bronny to be drafted, first and foremost. When you get drafted, it's not DP. Back in the day, I wasn't covering the league back in the day, but, in the 90s, I remember when second-round picks, DP, remember most second-round picks didn't make the team. They didn't get guaranteed contracts back then. It's changed over the last 10 years. Second-round picks are getting 3-4-year guaranteed deals. They're getting commitment. They're getting time and resources invested into them. So Rich Paul's statement to me about him he's not going to allow Bronny James to sign a two-way contract, and people took that as, he's going to try to keep Bronny from going to the G League. No, it's not that. It's that he would rather Bronny get drafted, which means the team is showing a commitment, and he could get 3-4 years guaranteed money under his belt. And also about the dictating, I think, I think basically if there is any dictating, I think the only dictating is, as of right now, only power he has in dictating is trying to tell teams and inform the league that two ways would not be considered. So if you're really thinking about having a chance of getting Bronny, it's going to take one of your draft picks. I think that's what he was trying to get to the masses.
All right, there is Chris Haynes. So it sounds like the ultimate plan, according to Haynes with Rich Paul, not necessarily about the Lakers, but if you take him, you got to use one of your draft picks because that means he'll get locked into a salary slot and he can get some security with, a 3-year deal. So that makes sense. I can understand why you would come out to do that for LeBron's son because you're trying to lock him into a salary slot to get him paid.
Yeah, they're saying all this. They want the Lakers to take him, draft him in the second round, or even sooner if they would. And they want to scare other teams off of doing that. They're going to do all they can to keep other teams from picking him. And we'll talk about that in a minute or two because I can see a motivation for another team to draft him.
Yeah, and there's no question about that. Here is Haynes. Well, what if he gets drafted and a team wants to send him to the G League? Is that an issue?
No, that's fine. He's drafted. He's still getting a 3-year minimum guaranteed deal.
Yeah.
And that's the investment. That's the commitment. When you get a two-way, that's a year deal. Then, you play 40-something games in the NBA, 40-something games in the G League. If things work out, they can move on after a year. So that's the difference between a two-way deal and then getting drafted, where that's actually a commitment that a team is putting into you, and they're going to give you a 3-year, 4-year guaranteed deal. And so that's where Rich Paul is trying. That's the direction Rich Paul is trying to steer his client in.
All right, there you go. So basically, if you want Bronny, you're going to have to sign him to a contract. They're not doing a two-way.
Yeah.
So they're trying to force hand. The weird part in all of this, Godfather, is that Clutch has ultimate power in the NBA.
Yeah.
Because they have the majority of players, and they have the best players. And you know how this works in the NBA with general managers. Let's take Joe Cronin, for instance. He needs to have a good relationship with Clutch in order to get deals done today and into the future, just like every other GM. And if you cross them, they can make life very difficult on you to get things done.
Well, the interesting conflict here is that Clutch and Andy Miller also represent Chauncey Billups, who they're trying to get signed to that. They're trying to get the final year of his contract guaranteed.
Yep.
So I don't know if this would play any anything at all into what might happen in the future. But if somebody decides they want to pull some shenanigans here on the Blazers side, they could threaten to draft Bronny.
Well, I got to be honest with you. And again, I am not a big fan of LeBron. If I was a GM, I would draft Bronny. I would use one of my picks. If I had multiple picks, I'm drafting Bronny for the sole purpose of forcing the Lakers to have to do a deal, and I can take advantage of them because LeBron is now a free agent. He's opted out. He's going to pass on the player option, and he wants to get a new deal, probably for 2 more years. He wants to play with his son. We know that. Well, if you draft Bronny and you've got his rights, how desperate would the Lakers be because they want to keep LeBron to go out and make a move to bring him in? They'd probably be pretty desperate to do that. So I would make the move just to put yourself in a position to where you can make deals with Bronny's rights.
So you would risk the ire of Clutch.
Yeah, just because it would be fun.
I would probably consider that, at least myself. I think it's a great move in terms of getting what you want.
Yeah.
They have to trade for him.
Well, this is what they're putting out publicly. What do you think they're communicating to teams behind the scenes? Don't draft him.
They would tell Portland, great, he'll work with Chauncey Billups. It'll be fine. We're not going to trade for him. We'll be happy if he's there. Just draft him. Go ahead. Burn a first-round pick on him because we'll take him after that. So you go ahead and take him and live with that if that's what you want, but you're not going to move us. That's what they're saying.
Yeah.
I don't believe that.
But what do you think they're saying behind the scenes?
Well,
Don't draft him. He's going to be taken by the Lakers.
They probably are threatening people and also saying behind the scenes, don't you dare draft him if you ever want one of our free agents.
Yeah.
Because we'll smoke you on that.
So do you think that that's the ultimate plan here, is to get Bronny drafted by the Lakers? Or
Of
is it
course.
just, is it about getting Bronny drafted so he can have guaranteed money? Or is it about getting him drafted by the Lakers? Or both?
Both. Yeah.
Would they be upset if another team, what if the Blazers used the number 14 pick on Bronny? Would they be upset with that?
Well, first of all, I would do that. But second of all, they'd be very upset. Yeah. And Clutch would tell Joe Cronin, fine, whatever free agents we have, forget about it.
Yeah, put an egg in your shoe and beat it.
You want to trade guys? Or all of our Clutch guys who are on your team right now are going to demand to be traded. You know, there's all kinds of dirty things you can do behind the scenes. But, yes, LeBron is sitting there, the ever-present NBA puppet master, and he is pulling all the strings on this because he wants to play with his kid. And in the end, it's his son that's going to pay the price for this because his son's going to always think, yeah, I got drafted because of my dad. I'm with the Lakers because of my dad. I got guaranteed money because of my dad. At some point, hey, Dad, can I just kind of pull something off on my own here?
Well, that's what's going to be fascinating to watch over time, is that relationship between Bronny and his father. Because I like Bronny. I've heard him talk. I've heard him talk about his game. I think he's got a very good understanding of who he is as a basketball player. I don't think he's got delusions about being some type of great player. I think he wants to work hard and do whatever he can to showcase himself and be able to develop as a player, which is good. Those are all good things. The way I read this situation is very simple. Rich Paul, working on behalf of LeBron, is trying to strong-arm teams into making sure that he gets drafted so he gets guaranteed money. And I think behind the scenes, LeBron and Rich Paul are probably trying to control everything to where the Lakers, based on LeBron's pending free agency, are forced to draft Bronny, and then LeBron will lock up and sign his new deal. Because think about it, it's perfect timing. Draft is at the end of June on the 26th. Free agency is right after that. Lakers draft Bronny. LeBron re-ups with the Lakers, and then boom, everyone's happy in la-la land. That's what they're trying to do.
Yeah. Well, the Lakers have had their way for decades in this NBA, even without LeBron. It seems like every time they needed a player, somebody would turn around and hand them a player.
Yeah, like Pau Gasol for a bag of stones and nothing. That's it. They've been doing this for years. So, and this is the price of doing business with LeBron. If you want LeBron, then you got to be willing to
turn your team over to him.
Yeah, it's the price you pay. Now, he's won a championship with every team he's been with, so you have to understand that we're going to win and have success, different levels of success based on where he goes, but we also have to turn our team over to him. And you just have to if you're going to do it, just embrace the whole package.
Yeah.
Because if you fight against it, you're going to lose him. And for the Lakers, that's a problem because they need star power for people to show up to watch that team play. That's just the way it works down there. But my main concern is Bronny. I don't want Bronny to be in a situation where other players in the league, they don't respect him because they feel like his dad gave him everything.
Yeah.
How does that help Bronny?
Well, I can tell you, Chad, it never helped Austin Rivers. You know,
No one respected him.
He was never very well respected among his peers because people understood. He's here because of Doc. He's playing because of Doc.
And he got paid because of Doc.
Yeah.
Even if that's not true, that's the perception.
Yeah.
You're here because of your daddy.
And I mean, you've got to be really careful when you do something like that to your own flesh and blood. I mean, that's something that's going to weigh big on his life.
Well, I just want to know the ultimate answer to one question. Hey, Bronny, do you want to play with your dad? Is that really what you want, or is that what he wants? What do you want?
Yeah.
No one's really asked him that. But that's what I want to know the answer to. If he does, and Bronny's on board with all of this, then fine. But I want to know what he wants.
Well, it's also interesting. Now, whether it's his decision or his dad's decision, he's been invited to work out for like 12 teams, and he's turned 10 of them down. The only 2 teams he's working out for are the Lakers and the Suns. He is going to work out for them. But
Well, why do you think that is?
Well, that's why I thought LeBron was a possible for Phoenix, because they have all those guys where he could go there and win. He sees KD and Booker and even Beal and says, yeah, I can go there. My son will get a ring because we'll win if I go there. He's thinking that. They got an owner who'd be happy to have him there. So, yeah, I think Bronny says, yeah, I'll go work out for you guys.
Interesting.
And also, by the way, provides the scenario where the Lakers might think, gee, Phoenix might just take him. We better get the highest pick we can to draft him, or we're going to lose both of them.
Before you know it, Bronny's going to be a top 10 pick.
Yeah, I know. He's insurance. He's LeBron insurance more than anything. Get him, you get LeBron.
Let's do a quick show poll. Burkhart, where do you think Bronny's going to be drafted, first or second round, or not drafted?
I think he's a second-round pick because I don't think he's a first-round talent, but I think you want to grab him because of the leverage you get. I know Clutch is trying to get leverage too, but if you're a team and you have Bronny, you have leverage too. So I think it's interesting. I would use a second-round pick on him all day long.
Where do you think he's going to go, first or second round, Godfather?
I still think he might go in the first round to somebody. It would be real interesting to see. He's not a first-round pick. He's not even a second-round pick, I don't think, according to a lot of people who've seen him play. But he's going to be drafted. You can bet everything on that.
Well, Phoenix might want to consider taking him, doing whatever they can to take him.
Well, they're the ones that can make a case to LeBron. What are you going back there for? You got no obligation to them.
You come to us, we're going to win.
Yeah, they didn't put players around you. Come here. We got a ready-made team here.
You know who needs to draft him because then they have all the power to make LeBron the mega villain? Cleveland.
That'd be a good one. That would be a good one.
Their owner's crazy enough to do it, too. That's wildly fascinating. I'm just telling you, Godfather, if I was a GM, the temptation to draft Bronny just to be that guy would be overwhelming. Draft him, and I'd draft him high, too. Top 10, take him. Bronny's gonna get paid, and then see how LeBron and Clutch handles that situation. It's crazy.
It's going to end up being the big story of the draft.
All right, we got big gifts to give away today. In fact, we're going to do that next. How about a 4-pack of tickets for the Portland Thorns, who are taking on Kansas City, June 23rd at Providence Park. We'll give away a 4-pack next. You can jump on board, 503-248-0620. Or join us on our YouTube stream right now, youtube.com. Pull up our homepage, Rip City Radio 620. Click subscribe, and you can check out our live streams right there. Also, good news for Scotty Scheffler, who appears to be one of the nicest golfers in the history of the planet. You got the Rip City Drive. All right, the Portland Thorns are going to be taking on Kansas City June 23rd at Providence Park. If you would like to see the Portland Thorns take on Kansas City June 23rd, call now for a 4-pack of tickets. Chris will get your information, 503-248-0620, 503-248-0620. Fire away with your calls right now. 4-pack of tickets for the Portland Thorns, June 23rd at Providence Park, 503-248-0620, 503-248-0620. We will get to Scotty Scheffler in just a moment. Let's go out to Paul in West Lynn who wants to comment on LeBron. And Paul, welcome to the Rip City Drive with Dwight and Chad. What's on your mind?
Thanks, guys. I just want to say what a great day today is. LeBron solved the question of who's the greatest of all time. Mr. Michael Jordan never used nepotism and manipulation to get Marcus and Jeffrey Jordan to the NBA. So obviously it's Michael. Thank you, LeBron.
Thanks for the phone call. Appreciate that. I really don't know how that factors into the greatest of all time, but there you have it. LeBron and Rich Paul have a plan, and they've got a lot of power, Godfather.
Yeah,
that's
they
the
do.
bottom line, a lot of power. But for Bronny, what's best for Bronny? I mean, that's really the ultimate question. What's best for him?
Yeah, I think his father should be actually looking after that too. But I think honestly, I think his heart is pure. He's trying to do what's best for his son.
What he thinks is best.
Right. But sometimes we don't know what's best for our own. I think you can overdo it.
Yeah. And that's really what's going on here. I don't think LeBron is trying to do anything bad. I think he's trying to step in to use his power to help his son out.
Yeah.
And when I look at this, and you know this, Godfather, how other players in the league look at you, do they respect you? What do they think about you? I mean, that matters a big deal. And if they look at you and think that you're in the NBA because your dad got you there and manipulated things, that's a problem.
That's a horrible way to start your career because that's hard to overcome. You know, people are going to, every time you make a mistake, they're going to tear you down. And even when you don't make a mistake, they're going to tear you down. And they're going to be looking for the things you don't do well rather than all those things that you might do well. It's really hard.
Well, Scotty Scheffler is a free man. All charges have been dropped against him after his arrest outside of Valhalla during the PGA Championship. And this goes back to power. You talk about LeBron and clutch. Scotty Scheffler's got a lot of money as the world number one. And his attorney, and we laughed about this a couple of weeks ago, made it very clear that, hey, we're not looking for a settlement. There's only one acceptable outcome here. And if not, we're willing to go to trial, which means we have attorneys, we got money, and we're willing to sit this out as long as possible to make sure that we accomplish our mission. And today the charges were dropped, which I think is the appropriate thing. But what I love the most is Scotty Scheffler coming out and saying, hey, I'm glad this is behind us, and I have no ill will towards the cop who arrested me. That's the perfect way to handle it.
Yeah.
Charges dropped. I have no ill will, and now he can move on.
Yeah. It will actually be forgotten, I think, fairly quickly. It's no charges, no nothing, and people won't hold on to that because they like Scotty Scheffler so much.
Yeah. So now he can move on and get ready for the next major, and that's really what I want. I do feel like the arrest and that whole scene cost him an opportunity to win the PGA because I think he came out on Friday, had that phenomenal round, but I think the adrenaline rush and everything he was working on, by the time Saturday showed up, he was just gassed.
Yeah.
And you know what it's like when you're gassed, you just don't have enough oomph to get over the top.
Yeah, and it saps your mental energy too, and it leads to mistakes that you might make.
Especially when you're going up against guys like Schauffele and Bryson who are on heaters on a golf course that was very favorable for the players where they could score very well. But I think that's the right outcome in this type of situation. But again, when you got money and you got power, you can make sure that things go in the direction you want.
Yeah, there's also an element of power within the PGA, and I think that city and that club would certainly like to have another PGA tournament come there.
Well, don't you think the people at the club were like reaching out to the police department saying, hey, what are you doing? Getting a hold of the DA, like, you can't do this. Just drop the charges or we're screwed forever. Because you know the PGA would have come out and said, look, you either get those charges dropped or we're never holding another PGA at your golf course again.
Yeah, and that's a country club there, first of all, with an awful lot of powerful people in it, I'm sure.
Rich.
It's the richest people in town.
Big
it's
taxpayers.
the most exclusive club, so they have some juice too.
Yeah. Now, the reason why I say all of this is because based on the reports that I read, the people who were there close to eyewitnesses, and based on the video I saw, I don't feel like Scheffler did anything wrong. I think it was a misunderstanding. And we've all been in that situation before. I've come up on a scene or construction or whatever, and I'm in a hurry trying to get to where I need to be. I've pulled over on the shoulder of the road trying to get around stuff before, not because I'm trying to just give a middle finger to the law, but because I'm trying to use whatever ingenuity I have to get around a mess. We've all done it.
Yeah, and if it's a big golf tournament and you're a little bit late and there's a lot of money on the line, I think if it were a different situation, Scotty Scheffler might have handled it differently too. But, when you're in a hurry, you don't think these things out as well as you could. I'm sure there's an element of fault that he had in kind of just rushing past the guy and dismissing him automatically. He said he didn't even know he's a cop, and I guess he might have known that had he taken a little more time with it and all that. But I'm not blaming him because it wasn't his fault. But still, these are things that happen, and I think everybody has to take that in consideration.
Oh, speaking of golf, did you get your cart or your
Oh,
charger?
Chad.
What was wrong with the cart? Why wasn't it charging?
Well, I think it was the actual charger itself. It wasn't the battery. That's what we seem to have found. They brought another charger out, plugged that in, and it didn't. It did charge up
Okay.
with a different charger. So I took it out, took a spin, made sure that it was running okay, brought it back, plugged it back into the charger, and it's going to be usable for the rest of the week. It's just got to work for this tournament coming up so that I can monitor you and Nancy and make sure that there's no shenanigans pulled.
Well, I'm glad that you got it fixed because Nancy's going to be my partner for the Couples Chapman this weekend.
Yeah.
And she's playing a lot of extra golf this week to tune up for the tournament.
Yeah.
I don't want her getting exhausted leading up to Saturday.
No,
Godfather, nice work.
She wants to save her legs, and that's good because she's played a lot already this week. She's taken it pretty seriously, but she's worried about letting you down, and you're worried about letting her down.
Yeah.
So you guys ought to just relax and enjoy the tournament.
All right, when we come back, we have another 4-pack of tickets we'll give away for the Portland Thorns, and we'll get into Angel Hernandez. We were unable to really expand on that yesterday, but his, quote, retirement, what does that mean for baseball, and are we closer to technology being brought in to figure out these balls and strikes? Series is that we have to listen to Stan Van Gundy more. I can only take so much. And the best part about the finals arriving is that he won't be on the call for the finals.
Yeah.
Praise the Lord.
Yeah.
He is a disaster. I like Reggie Miller, and I love Kevin Harlan, but I just can't take much of Stan Van. It's just brutal.
Yeah, he can wear on you a little bit.
Yeah, he wears on me a lot.
Yeah.
That's all. Everyone's got problems with Doris Burke and this or that or whatever. Me, it's Stan Van. It's like, oh, great. Mute button, click. It's just like, it's too much. Just blabbering at the mouth and slobbering and stuff. It's like, I don't know how Reggie Miller can just sit there and look at him with a straight face the way he does. But I like Reggie Miller, and most people don't like him.
Yeah.
You like Reg?
Yeah, I think he's okay. I don't really see the objection to him because I find him harmless, really. I don't think he says anything too controversial ever, I mean, he's just there. I'm not upset with him. I don't particularly care for him, but I don't like Doris Burke. I think she's just, I don't know, not good.
Well, I lost a little respect for Reggie because he called out LeBron a couple of weeks ago for being one of those players who's not accountable.
Right.
But then he backtracked when he was on radio.
Oh, he did? He backtracked off that?
Yeah, because Patrick was trying to nail him down on who he was referring to.
Uh-huh.
And he's like, well, it's not a particular player, but it's just in general. You know, he didn't want to be associated with calling out LeBron.
Own it. You got to own it. There was no doubt who he was talking about.
He doesn't want to get into that type of mess. He knows the deal.
Yeah.
All right, we have another 4-pack of tickets to give away as we continue our clear-out sale here on Ripson Radio 620.
Bargain
Everything
basement.
must go. Okay, we have a 4-pack of tickets for the Thorns. So if you missed your chance a few minutes ago, they're going to be taking on Kansas City June 23rd at Providence Park. My man Chris Burkhardt had a snafu with the phones. He reset them, so they're now in fine working order. I called him during the break to make sure he could hear me. So fire away right now. If you want a 4-pack of tickets for the Portland Thorns, June 23rd, Providence Park taking on Kansas City, 503-248-0620. 503-248-0620. Call now. 503-248-0620.
Sherwood, represent.
Hey, can we take time after the show? Can we look at our budget and see what we can afford? Because we've talked about the outrageous audio guy before. Can we maybe give him a little coin and see if he can be like, 4 tickets to the Portland Thorns? Call right now. Like, oh my gosh. Oh, I got you. Caller number 3? What?
Yeah.
Like, oh, it'd be awesome to drop that every time.
I pulled up their website a couple of weeks ago after we were done talking about him. He's still there. I love him. He's like one
Yeah.
of the best local commercial guys ever.
Oh, we got to get him to do a drop one day.
Yes. Outrageous audio guy is awesome. All right, so call now, 503-248-0620, and Burkhardt will get you set up with your tickets for the Portland Thorns. All right, we didn't get a chance to talk about Sherwood.
It's funny. I don't care how many times you use it. It's too funny.
Vancouver. Washougal.
Call now.
React to us. Show me your Portland Thorns. I love Hacksaw.
Yeah.
All right, we didn't get a chance to talk about one of our favorites, Angel Hernandez, yesterday. So he was basically a crappy MLB umpire for the last, how many years has he been going south?
Oh, 20-some years. Yeah.
So he's been an umpire for like 30-some years. He announced his retirement this week after starting another season 30 years in. It's very weird to have a guy start a season and announce his retirement a few weeks into the season. And you mentioned this yesterday. His retirement was, quote, negotiated.
That's what I've heard, yes. It was a negotiated.
When my dad retired, there was no negotiation
Yeah.
going on. He just retired.
No, I think it's a matter of a settlement, probably. We need you to go, and what's it going to
So
cost?
you think he was pretty much forced out for sucking?
Yeah, they have measuring systems, and umpires don't talk much about that, but they do have ways of grading them, and they're graded every time they go out there for the home plate area and for on the bases. So
What happened with him? Like, how do you explain the decline in his productivity behind the plate? How does that happen?
I think he probably wasn't very good in the beginning, really,
And
and
it just got worse.
and it just got worse. As you get older, as you get more tired, more fatigued. I mean, honestly, with guys throwing as hard as they are now and the ball movement, That's not an easy job. I think they're going to find really the Hawkeye system, some sort of electronic system is the best way to do it because it's really going to be hard for humans to call these pitches.
And then will you have an umpire behind the plate when they do that?
Yeah, but I think the system they'll touch on first is that appeal system that they're using in the minor leagues, and players seem to like it. You don't get many appeals, 2 or 3 a game is all you get, but you save them for key times, and all you have to do, the hitter just touches the top of his head, and that means they're going to look at it. And I mean, they look at it immediately. It takes like 2 seconds, and the umpire makes a signal on what the appeal was.
But 2 or 3 appeals is not enough for the way
I
these guys
know,
miss
I
calls.
know. That's not
Like
enough.
tennis, where if you're
Yeah.
like, "Dude, I don't believe it," go to the
Yeah.
technology.
I know. I don't see why there should be a limit on it, to tell you the truth.
Yeah, because there's no limit on how many calls these clowns miss.
I know.
Watching MLB games is fascinating because they got the freaking square right over the plate.
By the way, I love the internet for things like this, Chad, because there's. I don't know if you knew or not, but Angel already has a new job.
He does?
Yeah, he's inspecting planes for Boeing. And I told you yesterday, I tried to call him and congratulate him on his retirement, but he missed the call.
Yeah, there's a lot of jokes like that going on.
Yeah.
Do you think that this is the beginning of the end of umpires the way we see it? Do you think baseball is being pushed in the direction that you're going to have more technology involved in being able to call balls and strikes on a more consistent basis?
Yeah, I think they've held out for a long time, and they do seem to be anxious to make more changes now.
How is it working in the minors?
Pretty well from what I've understood. I think they're not using it here in Hillsborough yet. I think the AAA leagues are using it, and they seem to like it. Players who come up from the minor leagues that are interviewed are saying, yeah, for a critical call in a critical situation, it's great. And let's face it, I don't know that you need to use it in the 3rd inning of a game when, there's already 2 outs in the inning or something. That's fine. But there's always going to be an umpire situated behind the catcher because there's certain things only he can call. But I'd like to see him do something, and I don't know how you're going to do it with electronics. The half swing call, you see those butchered every night too, where you ask the base umpire, did he go? Did he swing? And they're so inconsistent on what many of them think is the swing. That's the hardest call in baseball, really, the half swing. But if they could come up with some sort of electronic standard for that so that everybody knew what it was, that would be good.
Well, let's go out to Don in Wilsonville. Don, welcome to the show. What's on your mind, my friend?
Hey, how are you doing? Not too bad. I was thinking, when Reggie Miller walked that back, sometimes when a player like that walks it back when on the obvious, that he should never do that on the conviction of what his heart is like. I think his heart felt the conviction and he believed what he did, but peer pressure got to him. I kind of think of Drew Brees, how he walked back about the Pledge of Allegiance of the flag when we had to go through that Colin Kaepernick and people kneeling, and he said a comment, and then he all of a sudden he walked it back. It's disappointing. You got to go with the first response and what the person felt like, because he felt it. He said it. You got to go with that. You got to own it, like Dwight says. And I wanted to tell you that Bill Walton was one of my favorites. I had a Franz card, a 1978 Franz card of Bill Walton back in the day. So he was a good guy.
We love Bill, and I appreciate the phone call, Don. Now, to Reggie's defense, he didn't name LeBron
No.
when he said there are stars in the league who lack accountability, but we all knew which star he was referring to.
Yeah.
Because who has more coaches fired than anyone? Well, it's LeBron. But I can understand why Reggie doesn't want to attach LeBron's name to that because that's not going to do him any favors. It's only going to make his life more difficult.
Yeah.
Because LeBron will make trouble for you. As we talked about, he's got a lot of power with Rich Paul.
Yeah, and his tentacles spread all over media, basketball, everything.
And I don't know who Reggie's agency group is, but he might be represented by Clutch.
He might. Yeah, Clutch.
There are other big
Clutch is so smart in that regard. I mean, they're signing all these broadcasters, a lot of them from ESPN.
Fox too. Didn't you tell me Nick Wright's representing
Yeah,
the Clutch?
yeah.
The
Who,
guy's on a campaign every day to talk about the greatness of LeBron being the best ever.
and he's the guy 3 or 4 years ago used to rip him every day. He's done a total turnaround, and it's just like, what's your price, pal?
Yeah, that's the power of Clutch.
Yeah.
And you don't want to get on their bad side because they can make life difficult for you. That's really what it comes down to.
Yeah, and every time you say the power of Clutch, we're really talking about the power of LeBron.
Yes, and Rich Paul.
Yeah.
Two guys together.
Yeah, he installed Rich Paul in that job. I mean,
Yeah, so of course Rich Paul's going to do whatever he wants.
yeah. You think Rich Paul had the kind of money to set up an agency like that? What it would cost?
Now, we may not agree with the tactics, but I got to give LeBron credit. That was genius to set up an agency group to take back power. The players have more power today than they've ever had.
Oh, yeah.
And a lot of that has to do with the agents and the agency groups that are now present, in combination with a commissioner who is about as player-friendly as you can get. But a part of the reason why Silver's player-friendly is because of the pressure that they get from Clutch.
He's trying to keep the Players Association happy all the time.
Yep.
All the time. That's his
Avoid
thing.
labor strife.
Exactly. Because that costs everybody money. And that's his number one job, probably. Is just keep everybody playing. Keep them on the court. Keep that TV money rolling in.
Yes, whatever it takes to keep my owners happy by,
Mm-hmm.
and how do you make owners happy? By filling their pockets with money.
Mm-hmm.
And that's really what it comes down to. I mean, it's all about money. It's always about money and contracts and time, length of contracts, right? Same thing with Bronny. They're trying to get him paid. And if he gets drafted, he is going to get guaranteed money. I mean, I wish I had an agency group like that willing to do whatever it took to get me paid like that. It's powerful. It's big time. And like you said with LeBron, I agree with your insight there. He's not trying to be, he doesn't think he's doing anything wrong. He just thinks he's doing the right thing as a father. It's like, I've got power, and I'm going to use that power to assist my son in making sure that his pathway to the NBA is proper.
We all want to help our kids out. I mean, you want the best for them. You want them to live a better life than you did. And he reminds me of a stage parent, somebody getting into acting and always showing up at the auditions and all that. And sometimes the kid has to do it on his own.
All right, we'll come back, and when we do, I'm very happy that we have another Bo Nix update, and this includes thoughts from the great Peyton Manning.
Excellent.
I mean, if I can't hear from Elway on Bo, then Peyton Manning's the next best thing. So
Yep.
I'll take that. We'll get his thoughts on playing quarterback as a rookie and the importance of that, and also the latest on the quarterback battles and what's coming out of the OTAs, where, as you might expect, Bo Nix maybe a little bit farther behind from the guys who have played and have more experience.
Sure.
So we'll see how that continues to play out. We'll hear from Peyton Manning. Bo Nix update next here on the Rip City Drive.
Broncos country, let's ride.
Oh, the Denver Broncos.
I know. They kill you all the time.
And you can see it on the camera right behind me. Shacker put up a 1989 49ers sweatshirt. And this is clearly from 89 because Shacker's not this small anymore.
But guess who's moving and going through boxes of old stuff, right? Yeah.
And that was a team that defeated Denver 55-10 in the Super Bowl, which is still the largest margin of victory in a Super Bowl. So thanks for that, Michael Shacker. And then Burkhardt's a big 49er fan, too. It's all despicable. Disgusting. All right. I think Mitch in New Jersey has a great idea. We saw the Tom Brady roast. It was a smash success. Mitch says, hey, how about a roast of Angel Hernandez?
He's been roasting himself for years now, so I guess it would fit.
How many players could you get to line up to have a chance to roast Angel Hernandez?
All of them.
Blind jokes would be extreme.
Yes.
I would do that. I think that's the best way to send him off into retirement, a nice roast of Angel Hernandez. But the way I've seen it with these umps, they're too sensitive for that type of activity.
Well, it's their job, you know. You got to be a little sensitive about your job.
I thought Aaron Boone was going to fight him, and I wanted that to happen. But it didn't happen.
No.
Hernandez sucks. The guy's terrible. And I love how social media now, you're right, you can pull up X or YouTube on any night, and you can see a little nice little highlight package of umps just missing calls.
Yeah.
It's unbelievable to me. How can you be that bad? But again, we can't argue balls and strikes. Well, why not if you're missing every one? Why can't you argue balls and strikes if they suck? Why is that? Why is that off limits?
Yeah, it would slow the game down, and they'd argue way too much.
All right. Coming up in about 15 minutes, we're going to have a 4-pack of tickets for the E-Race coming to PIR. So we'll do E-tickets at about 4:45. We'll do Hops tickets at 5, and then we have another 4-pack for the E-Race coming up at 5:20. So Rib City Liquidators is
Wow.
large and in charge.
Nice.
All right, time for a Bo Nix update, Godfather. A lot of different things I want to cover here with Bo. I'm irritated at Sean Payton for one little minor thing that I think he can handle pretty easily. But first, I want to hear from Peyton Manning. He would know better than anyone the importance of, do you sit, do you play as a rookie? What's the best path? Is there a best path? What's the best way to handle it? Here is Peyton Manning discussing the Broncos quarterback situation with Bo Nix and being a rookie quarterback. And, of course, Manning would know because he played as a rookie, went 3-13 and threw an enormous amount of interceptions.
Sitting on the sideline. Any quarterback will tell you that. So when that happens, for Bo, these quarterbacks, obviously, Sean will make that decision. But I do think experience is your best teacher. It's a marathon. It's not a sprint, right? I mean, I went 3-13 my rookie year and didn't play very well. We went 13-3 the next year. There's no way that would have happened had I not played and kind of gone through those struggles and thrown those interceptions and figured out, hey, okay, I can't do that anymore. Hey, these guys are faster. You just sort of file it all away. And, Eli played, I think, 6 games his rookie year, and he said what he learned in the 6 that he played was, night and day compared, to the
Night and day compared to the 10 games that he sat on the bench.
Yeah.
So that's Peyton Manning. I really don't know what the answer is here. Like Patrick Mahomes did not play right away because they had Alex Smith. But I think Patrick Mahomes would have been just fine had they put him in and he played right away. He would have turned out to be the same quarterback that he is now. But
Yeah.
they continued to play Alex. They let him sit, and when he stepped in, he was ready to go. But I think he would have been fine no matter how they would have done it. The difference here in Denver is that they don't have a defined starting quarterback. You have Bo Nix, Jared Stidham, career backup who has very limited NFL experience, and then Zach Wilson out of New York with the Jets. And we've all seen what he's done so far in the NFL, which is not much. What I think, and we've talked about this before, but right now in OTAs, the reports that I've heard from people in Denver is that, Bo Nix is kind of neck and neck right now with Stidham. He's a little bit behind because he has no experience in the NFL. So the little nuances or certain things that he's still trying to work his way through
Yeah.
don't come as naturally to him yet. So Stidham, because he's got experience in the league, is able to get out there and do things in camp that are a little bit easier. So my thought is, you've got Zach Wilson for nothing, like $275,000. Jared Stidham, you're paying $5 million per year for because you signed him last year when you Peyton got on board with Russ.
Mhm.
He would be a valuable backup somewhere. I think they need to get Stidham out of there to clear out the room. You have two guys. You can either use Wilson as a bridge until Bo Nix is ready, or you believe he's ready and put him in, or you just get rid of Stidham and you basically know going into game one at Seattle that you're going to play Bo Nix from day one. But having Stidham in there is not, in my mind, helpful to what you're trying to accomplish here with your quarterback room.
Yeah, I think sometimes you have to manage the situation and know what the outcome is that you're looking for. I think that Sean Payton is looking for an outcome where he can start Bo Nix from game one. But he might have to engineer that himself, because if you leave a guy with that kind of experience around, a guy burning to start like Stidham is, he could win the job. And he could win the job right there in front of your whole team, leaving no doubt he's the better guy of the two, at least at the start of the season. You don't want that outcome. So let him go now, because you're not going to win a lot of games. You're not going to the Super Bowl this year anyway. And your long-term play is Bo Nix. That's the guy that you're going to base your season and your reputation on. So don't take any chances on somebody beating him out now, because it's really not a competition. You're saying it's a competition to get everybody to show up and play hard, study, do all the stuff they need to do. But you want Bo Nix to win the competition. So the best thing to do, and I've seen this done in basketball countless times, eliminate the competition.
Yes. And then you can get some compensation in return, and you can spin it however you want. But
Yeah.
Because you know how players are in the league. If they go through camp, and players know because they're out there in the field practicing with them, so they know who the best quarterback is. Even if Stidham's just a little bit better, if you give the job to Bo Nix, and he wasn't the guy who outperformed through the competition, then the teammates aren't going to respect him, right? It's similar to what we were talking about with Bronny, where he's given a job in the NBA. If his teammates don't respect him, that's a problem. If you eliminate Stidham from the competition, and it's Bo Nix and Zach Wilson, and Bo Nix is clearly the best quarterback, his teammates will rally around him as you begin that process of grooming him and developing him into an NFL quarterback.
Yeah, and I mean, it's easy to do this because Stidham's value would be high. If he's shown well in OTAs, the whole league probably knows that by now, because there aren't any secrets in the NFL. And I think you can also tell the public, look, he's not in our long-term plans, but we like him. He's done great. We want him to have a chance to show what he can do. We're going to be nice to him and let him go someplace where he can play. And that's all you got to say. It's like, okay, we get that. We get that. And we know everybody, all the fans want Bo Nix to win that competition anyway. Their hopes aren't with Jarrett Stidham.
No. The only way I would not want Bo Nix to take the field is if he's so bad and behind the eight ball to where it's clear that you cannot put him out there.
I agree, but nobody expects that to happen.
No.
And really, Peyton wouldn't play him if that were the case.
No. He would be highly concerned about his selection in the draft, but he wouldn't put him out there.
Well, he'd also talk himself into thinking he just needs some time on the side, because he's not going to admit a mistake that quickly.
No. Guys that proud, they don't just walk around admitting that they're
No,
wrong.
he's not going to say that.
Yeah,
Right, it'll be somebody else. That's the way Chad, that's how front offices work. That's how you keep your job. It's always somebody else's fault. Fire the coach, fire the fire the scouts, fire the vice president, whatever. That's what you do.
Yeah. For me, I want Bo to play from game one.
Yeah.
Because I do believe that there's a lot of value in if he can get through year one without getting obliterated with an injury, and then he can go through all the learning curve stuff, the bumps, the bruises, the confusion, the third downs, all the different stuff. Because Bo Nix is smart, so if he's getting a chance to get out there on the field and see everything in live action and work through that process, my whole thought is it's not about year one, it's about year two. How far along will he be in year two as he enters camp after 17 games under his belt? That'd be massive.
I think it's also the only way to find out what he has to work on. What are his shortcomings? The only way to find that out is put him into game action and see what happens.
Yeah, it's one of those weird jobs where you cannot simulate NFL game speed
Right.
in practice.
Yeah.
Because it's not the same. Games are guys going full out and the speed and everything. You can learn a lot of things in practice, but until you get out there on the field in game situations, you don't really grow and you don't really develop. And you need to be out there and trying to figure it out. Elway was awful early in his career, but being out there when he was young and going through some of the difficulties, like lining up in their guard instead of center and all the other nonsense, you learn through that, and then you continue to get better. And for guys who are smart, being able to be on the field to see the speed of the game and understand what you're dealing with, and what throws work, what you
Yeah.
can't do. I mean, those quarterbacks are smart. They log that information away, and it helps them as they continue to press forward. Fascinating. But yeah, Jared Stidham's a problem. You got to get him out of there. Bo Nix doesn't need Jared Stidham just being good enough to be a little bit better in the
Yeah.
camp. So I would say, what are we in now? It's May. They won't open up camp until the end of July. So I would look to move him sometime by the end of July so you can get him to a different team. And then everyone knows moving forward it's Bo Nix and Zach Wilson.
Yeah. Clear the air.
Yes. And then if you want to start Wilson to begin the year where you're going to slow roll Bo, I'm fine with that, although I'd much rather he be out there from day one. That's all. But you know how players are. If they play with the guy that they believe to be better and you put the other guy out there, they're going to resent that.
Yeah.
And Mike Shannon made that mistake the year that the first year without Elway. He drafted Brian Greasy, and Greasy was like year number 2. But he had Bubby Brister, who was the veteran guy, the
Yeah.
Buster. And the teammates, they all respected Brister because he had played and started many games when Elway had been dinged up the year before when they won the championship. He had the experience. He had respected guys in the locker room. Shanahan started Brian Greasy. And the players didn't respect it. They were upset with the coach on that. So he didn't have full buy-in Greasy from his teammates when he was out there on the field. And the players were upset at the coach because they didn't start the guy that they thought should have been starting.
Yeah.
And you don't want that kind of stuff going on in your locker room. You want Bo to be in a position where the players are behind him and he can just go out there and focus on developing as a quarterback.
Yeah.
Now, you're the resident dunk guy, Burkhardt. How do you feel Bo is going to do in year one? Would you start him from day one? Would you slow roll it and bring him in maybe midway through the season, 6 or 7 games in? How would you handle it? How would you play that? I don't think Burkhardt's over there. He disappeared.
He vanished.
Passed out. My bad.
That's all right, man. How would you do it with Bo? Would you play him from day one? Would you slow roll it and bring him in halfway through?
Oh, without a doubt, I'd play him day one. I think you got to give him the keys at this point and go with it. I don't think giving Zach Wilson a chance or any other, but gives him any favors. Like, right? You don't want to do anything that puts him behind the 8 ball or makes him lack confidence. Just get him in there, teach him the game, and let him go. That's how I would go. Zach Wilson had his chance. Let Bo have his.
They're going to play the best quarterback, but there's no question. I think any quarterback would tell you, being out there on the field, you just learn more things than you do sitting on the sideline. Any quarterback will tell you that. So when that happens, for Bo, these quarterbacks, obviously, Sean will make that decision. But I do think experience is your best teacher.
You know what's great about Peyton? So he hasn't played for the Broncos in like 10 years. He says his key card still works to get in the building.
Yeah, but that speaks to him. They're not going to lock him out of their building.
What a valuable resource where he and his family made the choice to make Denver home after he retired. So he's still there. He's still around.
Yeah.
He hangs out with the team. What a great resource that is to have a guy like Peyton around who can be there with the quarterbacks. And, of course, he's got his Peyton, the Manning family quarterback camp. He works with the guys. I just think it's great that the Broncos have said, hey, you've got free reign, man. We embrace you, and anything you want to offer up, we're cool with.
It's very, very smart. It's like other players walking in and seeing him there. Whew, that speaks, I think, to the traditions of the franchise. Here, this guy's a Hall of Famer. He's a great player. He's still around. He's welcomed back. They treat their guys well. And by the way, if I needed some advice, here he is. How would you handle this situation? Not getting along with the coach, not doing this or that. How do you, I'm only a receiver. Well, what would you want your receivers to do in this situation? Not just the quarterbacks. He can help a lot of players out.
No question. And Sean Payton can utilize that. He might reach out to Drew Brees. Hey, what do you remember about this situation?
Right.
What's the best thing? What worked for you? You could call up Peyton Manning and ask him. You played as a rookie. Was that tough? Is that the right play? Are you glad it went that way?
Mm-hmm.
I think those type of resources are very valuable. And in fact, we were talking about that yesterday with David Lucas, right? About, getting Blazer alumni back in the fold around the team.
Mm-hmm.
Have Clyde Drexler around a little bit more. Have other guys around the team.
And the ones that live around here should all have key cards to get into the practice facility. Guys need to lift some weights. You want to just come in and have lunch or whatever? It's wide open to you. You're our honored guest. Anytime you want to come in here, maybe you just want to come in and bring your son at night to shoot some baskets. Bring him in. We don't care. That's the kind of culture you want to have so that your current players see that and feel like, hey, this could be my home. This might be the place I want to stay. I just think it's a no-brainer. If you don't do stuff like that, you don't have a great culture.
Yeah, I think that's what it's all about. So the Broncos will continue to press forward. It's hard to believe, but where are we at now at the end of May? So we're like 2 months away from the opening of football camps. How crazy is that? That's how close we are. I just can't wait to see Bo Nix play because I want to know if this is going to work or not. I want to see if Sean Payton knows what he's doing. Is he truly the quarterback guru?
You know he knows what he's doing.
Well, yeah, I think so. I think what people forget, because it's easy to say, well, yeah, Drew Brees. Well, yes, but he went after Brees.
Drew Brees was handpicked by Sean Payton.
Yes. Now, it's easier to point at a guy like, Mike Shanahan, who had Elway, he was established. Bill Walsh had Joe Montana. Like, those are very valuable. But he went after Brees when no one wanted him.
Yeah.
He had been cast aside. He tried to get a deal in other places. No one wanted him because they believed he was damaged goods. They didn't think he could be a good quarterback. But Sean Payton saw something, believed in him, gave him the chance, and look what happened. So Brees was great, but Sean Payton saw something there that other coaches didn't and was willing to take a chance on him. So there's genius behind that decision-making by Sean Payton. So if I'm Bo Nix, I feel pretty good because you can wind up, we've talked about this before, you can get drafted by a lot of teams and wind up in a lot of situations with a lot of tomfoolery in the coaching ranks.
Yeah.
Guys who don't know what they're doing. There's a lot of coaches like that. Wind up with a defensive coach that thinks that has no clue of offense.
Right. Doesn't know even how to protect you. You know, you're taking a beating because he's not designing the right kind of protections for you.
But offensive coaches like McVay or Sean Payton, Kyle Shanahan, they see the game like a quarterback. So their number one priority is putting the quarterback in a position to succeed and also building an offense that will protect your quarterback.
And they also know their own offense well enough to know, I don't even want that guy because he doesn't fit here. This guy, though, he fits what I want to do. And that's the most important part. Yeah. He fits, and I know that he must feel Bo Nix can engineer the kind of offense that Sean Payton wants to run.
I'll tell you what.
Am I making you feel any better today? Okay, good.
And we already informed each other that we would vote for each other for president if we were on the ticket.
Yeah.
Thank you. I'm glad to know that if I choose to run, I've got your support.
Yeah, and it's nice to know we're both crazy enough that we would be bad presidents, yet we would vote for each other. We're that crazy.
It's just amazing to me with the advanced country they are. That
Yeah. This is the best. This is the best we got. The cream of the crop. The leader of the free world. There he is.
Oh, my goodness. All right, we'll keep things rolling. We'll come back. We have a 4-pack of tickets for the E-Race at PIR. 503-248-0620 is your telephone number. And the Pac-12 is officially over, Godfather.
Yeah.
Crazy. We'll get to that. And we got a 4-pack of tickets for the E-Race. All right, Rip City Liquidators. We're keeping Burkhart busy today with all the giveaways we got. The hand-cooked Portland E-Pre is coming to town on Sunday, June 30th. It's over at PIR, and you can get your tickets at FIAFormulaE.com. But we have a 4-pack of tickets that we want to give away right now. So if you'd like to go to the E-Pre race, the hand-cooked Portland E-Pre, just call now, 503-248-0620. 503-248-0620. Call now, and you'll get a 4-pack of tickets for the hand-cooked Portland E-Pre at PIR on June 30th. 503-248-0620.
Chad, are there any little towns around here that you'd like to hear from on these calls?
Let me think about that. Banks!
I was going to say Troutdale,
Tillamook, Vanport.
Vanport.
They're close to PIR.
Yeah.
Call now for your E-Pre tickets. What are some other little small towns that are really nice? Scio!
Camas.
What's that town that's just up past Camas on Highway 14? Oh, I can't think of it.
Let me expand a little bit.
Bridge of the Gods.
Bridge of Gods. Bingen. Goldendale. Wishram.
Dude, I passed by that going through the gorge with Isaac. We cruised out to Idaho. Isaac drove the entire way there and the entire way back. And I got to be honest with you, he did a really good job, and he's getting much better. So I did much less worrying about what was around us.
Wow, relaxing then.
Yeah, so I was watching different YouTube videos and just hanging out, and Isaac was just locked on 10-2 the whole way, and he's like, my hands are hurting. I'm like, son, it's because you got to ease up on the grip. I said, you're going to squeeze life out of the steering wheel. It's okay to relax a little bit, buddy.
Did he enjoy, was he proud of the fact that he drove round trip?
He did. And he's like, how many hours did we drive today? Because Friday, when we left town, we took our time. So we stopped off at the restaurant that's right there off 84, right next to the Bridge of the Gods. I forgot the name of the restaurant, but
I know the one you mean. It's highly touted.
Yes.
People like it.
They have good food. Isaac got a burger there, and we hung out. And the view from, you can sit there in the booth and your windows, like literally looking over a ledge at the river. So it's a spectacular view, and you can see the Bridge of the Gods right there. So he got his food, and then we continued on. But we took our time. We stopped in Pendleton, and then we stopped in LeGrand. He wanted to make sure he stayed fueled on coffee, he's like, well, I'm driving the whole way, so I got to make sure I'm alert. And it took us probably about, I would say about 8 to 9 hours on the way out there because we took our time. I didn't want him to, be stressed. The advantage of coming back when we did is that we hit a pocket when there wasn't too much traffic, so that worked out pretty well. But I made sure to tell him I was proud of the way he drove because he did a good job. I even encouraged him while we were there. I was like, hey, I won't tell Mom if you want to take a little trip by yourself. Drive somewhere here in town in Napa and then come back, but try it. And he's like, oh, no, I'm fine. I'm going to wait till I get my own car to do that. I think what he was trying to tell me is like, I don't think Mom would be down, so I don't want to do that. But I tried to get him to do that. The other thing we found in town, I don't know if you've been to one, but I've been to one in Denver and in Colorado Springs right there in Meridian, which is directly in between Boise and Napa. They've got a Shields Sporting Goods. Have you been to a Shields yet?
Mm-mm. No.
They've got a brand new one that's been open for like a month there in Napa. Shields is like the greatest sporting goods store and anything that you could possibly want. It's the greatest store I've ever been in my life.
Why?
They're nice.
Have you been to a Shields?
I went to one in Montana once. They're nice.
Well, what do they sell that makes them so good? What do they have?
Everything. Like when you walk in, first off, the complex is massive. So when you walk in, I don't know why they have, but they've got a giant Ferris wheel inside of their store. So you can get a ride on the Ferris wheel if you want. So it's great for the family. They got a cafe. So Isaac went back and got himself a cup of coffee. They've got any golf club and golf apparel, golf shoes that you could possibly want. All the men's apparel you could want, Nike, Under Armour, all the different stuff. They even had some furniture upstairs. They've got ski supplies. They've got fishing, golf, everything. And I went in with the purpose of trying to buy something, and I was so overwhelmed that I couldn't make a decision. I went straight to the Travis Matthews section, and I wanted everything. And so I I was overwhelmed, and so I couldn't make a decision. But Shields is, without question, the coolest store I've ever been in because it's so big and so over the top and so awesome. And then the gear, like in Denver, it's great because the Bronco gear they've got is off the charts. A lot of Boise State gear at the Shields location in Napa, as you might expect. But we stayed there for a couple of hours. I just walking around looking at stuff. Isaac disappeared. I didn't see Isaac for 2 hours. And then when we were done, had his cup of coffee, and I found him an Idaho shirt with he had like the outline of the state of Idaho because he loves Idaho so much. He's like, "Oh, thanks. I can't wait to wear it." And so he thought it was the greatest. He's like, "Oh, I want to go back to Shields." So yeah, we went there. But you got to check out a Shields if you haven't been there.
I wonder why they aren't why aren't they around here?
It's a good question. I don't know.
Huh. I want a PGA Superstore around here too. I like those. Man, they got more golf equipment you can imagine.
The one down in Scottsdale is unbelievable.
Yeah.
I went there with Steve once, and he's like, "We're never going back there again," because I couldn't leave. I just wanted to spend a lot of my – I don't need places like that where I just might as well just walk in and hand my card. Just charge whatever you want.
Well, yeah, you end up buying stuff you don't need just because it's an opportunity to buy something cool.
Yeah. Yeah, but Shields is it's unbelievable.
I can't believe they have a Ferris wheel.
It's a big-ass Ferris wheel, Godfather.
That's like Mall of America has a roller coaster. Chris, did you go with me that time to Mall of America?
They have a roller coaster at the Mall of America? That's the one in Minnesota, right?
Yeah.
Have you ridden it? Did you ride the roller coaster?
No.
Well, why not?
Because we didn't have time. We were just there to have lunch and kind of look it over, and there was a line. But it's pretty cool. I think it's on the same location that the old football stadium used to be. Remember the stadium that wasn't domed in Minnesota? Fran Tarkington, Bud Grant, out in the snow.
They had a Super Bowl at that stadium once.
Did they?
Yeah.
Huh. Wow. Yeah, I think that's where it is. Huge parking lot, can accommodate a lot of people. It's pretty amazing. A lot of stores you never see.
Well, I wish they had a Shields here. It's awesome.
I do too, if it's that good, yeah.
Whew. Maybe it's better they don't, so I don't spend too much money. I mean, it's just great. The golf selection was mind-boggling. I'm like, what do I need to put in my bag here? Those tees look interesting. All right, 5 o'clock chat here. ESPN has released their post-spring top 25 rankings. Oregon is checking in at number 4 behind Texas, Ohio State with Georgia at number 1. The Minnesota Timberwolves were able to take out Dallas last night and get their first win in the series. Mavericks have a 3-1 series lead. Game 5 tomorrow night in Minnesota. Tip-off at 5:30 on TNT. The Wolves are favored by 5.5 elsewhere. Tyronn Lue got an extension with the Clippers, earning $14 million per season. Brian Keefe has been named head coach of the Wizards. The 49ers are looking to sign Brandon Ayuk to a long-term extension. In the meantime, they have agreed to terms with Juwan Jennings to a 2-year contract. More of the Rip City Drive with Dwight and Shaq coming at you right now. We have a 4-pack of tickets for the Hillsboro Hops we'll give away next. Well, I don't know which station it is, but we've got it on in studio here. It looks like they're showing The Last Dance.
Yeah.
And little Chad fact for you. I only saw MJ play live in person one time.
Uh-huh.
That was 1997, the Bulls at the Blazers here at Moda Center.
Yeah.
And Jordan scored 20 of his 36 in the fourth quarter, and the Bulls won the game. And this is why YouTube is so beautiful. I just did a quick search on YouTube. The full game is right there and ready to be watched. So I'm going to have to check that out tonight just to go back and relive that one memory. That's all. I only had a chance to see him one time, which is pretty sweet. I went with my friend Jason Vickery, who had season tickets. They were pretty good seats, but it was cool to see MJ at least once before he shut it down in Chicago.
Were you impressed?
Yeah. I enjoyed the entire experience.
Yeah.
I went in knowing that the Bulls would probably win the game, and I went in wanting to see the best from MJ and, you know, to see him. Again, the game was close throughout, and then like we saw so often in Chicago, they leaned on MJ in the fourth quarter, and he delivered. I would say in terms of consistency, that's what impressed me the most about MJ was you knew it was coming. He was just reliable night in and night out. You knew that he was going to, you know, you could put him down for about, 28 to 30 points unless it was an exceptional night, and he was going to deliver. I just haven't seen too many athletes with that type of consistency. It's pretty wild. It's kind of like Patrick Mahomes now. We expect him to deliver in big games, and he does. It's pretty crazy.
Yeah.
I would say Luka is developing into that type of player. Jokic, Luka.
Yeah, not as consistent. That would be the only thing. Luka's a bit of an up and down guy,
Yeah, like last night would be a good example.
I think it comes with taking a lot of threes, though, and he takes a lot of threes. That's one thing Jordan didn't do because nobody did at that time.
No.
And I think it leads to a much better field goal percentage.
Remember when the league moved the three-point line in and then quickly realized that might be a mistake, so they moved it back out?
Yeah.
Rasheed and all those other bigs are like, dude, I'm going to start jacking threes now. Mm-hmm. All right, we have a 4-pack of tickets for the Hops. It's Hops Ticket Tuesday. You can always get your tickets for the Hops. Just go to hillsborohops.com. This is for your chance to sit in the Rip City Radio row. And this is going to be for a game coming up on June 2nd. The weather's getting nicer. It's a great time to check out baseball out at Hillsboro Baseball Park. So if you'd like a 4-pack of tickets for the Hops, your telephone number is 503-248-0620. Call now, and you'll get a 4-pack of tickets for the Hops, 503-248-0620, 503-248-0620.
Yeah.
Hazeldale!
The Hillsboro Hops, where you get gems like this one from last night.
Until then, our thanks to Chris Ballpark back in the studio engineering tonight.
Chris Ballpark. I go, that's a new one. He goes, what? I go, Chris Ballpark? He goes, did I call you that? I'm like, oh, you did.
Until then, our thanks to Chris Ballpark back in the studio engineering tonight.
Good.
That's actually a pretty good name.
It is.
That's you should change your name to Ballpark.
That's what I told him. I said, I wish it was my name.
It's like Donnie Mattingly, Donnie Baseball.
It's a great name.
Chris Ballpark. I like it.
What they call Teddy Ballgame?
Yeah, Teddy Ballgame. That's pretty good.
You know what's amazing to me? I'm going to sound like such a moron for admitting to this, but what Yogi Berra, where did that come from?
As a kid. They say he used to sit around with crossed legs and his arm crossed, and he just looked like a yogi. So, like a yoga guy, and so they start calling him Yogi.
So it has nothing to do with Yogi Bear.
No, he was way before Yogi Bear.
No, I'm just saying, I thought that for some reason it was off of Yogi Bear. That's what I thought. So Yogi Berra. I had no idea.
They named the cartoon character after him.
Oh, they did?
Yeah.
Are you pulling my leg on that?
What, are you kidding me?
No, I'm asking.
No,
I don't
Yogi
know.
Played,
I told you I
like
was going to look like a
early
moron.
1950s.
My prediction was correct. You're looking at me like I'm a fool. I was just,
No,
I didn't know. I
thought you were kidding me.
I thought Yogi Berra got the nickname off the bear. Hey, yo, boo-boo, let's go get another picnic basket. That's what I thought. But apparently that's not the case.
No, that cartoon hadn't been around that long. But, yeah.
There you go.
Lawrence Peter Berra, Yogi.
What is a yogi? What is a yogi? Not the bear, but what is a yogi?
Someone who practices yoga or is a yoga master, I guess.
They had yoga back then in his playing days?
I guess, yeah. I think they probably confused him with a Buddha, but that wouldn't have made a good nickname, Buddha.
All right. The all too early preseason rankings are out in college football. The Oregon Ducks check in at number 4, according to ESPN. And here's their spring update. In just 2 seasons as a head coach, Oregon's Dan Lanning has established himself as one of the best in FBS. His teams have a 22-5 record and back-to-back bowl victories, with the Ducks moving to the Big Ten. Lanning's blueprint for building a physical team on both sides of the ball should help ease the transition. Former Oklahoma quarterback Dylan Gabriel takes over for the departed Bo Nix. Texas A&M transfer Evan Stewart might form a potent 1-2 punch with Tez Johnson at receiver. Jordan James is back after rushing for 759 yards and 11 touchdowns last year. Safety Kobe Savage, Kansas State, and cornerback Jabbar Muhammad from Washington were nice additions to a pass defense that led the Pac-12 last season, allowing 215.9 yards per game. Oregon plays a home contest against Ohio State on October 12th, but its November schedule will determine if it's going to be a season to remember. Michigan on the road, Maryland at home, Wisconsin on the road, and Washington at home.
Huh.
That's a
schedule.
brutal schedule.
That's what you ask for when you join the Big Ten.
That's really the only downside I see to the Ducks' upcoming season. I think Dylan Gabriel is going to be sensational. And I think Dylan Gabriel is every bit the college quarterback that Bo Nix was.
Really?
Yeah. And I watched every one of his games last year. I watched pretty much every one of his games the last 2 years. He was hurt a number of games in his first season with Oklahoma, but when he played, they were terrific. And last year, he was just dynamic. If you look at his numbers, they're almost identical to Bo Nix, but accurate, smart, great leader, highly productive, and in the run game, he's a physical running quarterback, which is going to be really good come red zone time for the Ducks.
That's what I was going to ask you. He's more of a runner than Bo Nix, right?
He runs with more purpose than Bo Nix, and he's not afraid to run. In fact, when he runs sometimes, he would irritate me because I'm like, dude, hey, Dylan, you don't need to lower your shoulder to prove a point. But he's very stocky, waist down, strong, but the accuracy is money.
So you'd call running plays for him.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Which makes the offense even more dynamic because when the defense has to account for the quarterback, there are problems that occur. And, Oklahoma was just a couple of plays from being in a position to play in the playoff. They got, snake bit by Kansas at the end of the game, and then they lost basically by one play to Oklahoma State. Other than that, they were right there. And Dylan Gabriel did not play in the bowl game against Arizona. And Arizona won the game, but that was a wildly high-scoring game. But, yeah, I think Dylan Gabriel is going to be terrific. He's just everything you want as a quarterback. And, just like Bo Nix coming over from, Auburn, you get a guy who's coming in. Gabriel's got a ton of experience. He's been there and done that. So there's nothing you can throw at him that he hasn't seen. His understanding of the offense is not going to be an issue. His accuracy is top-notch. He's got the leadership qualities. There have been reports already from his teammates that he's already one of the fellas. It's just that was a big-time move by the Ducks to go out and land him. It was a no-brainer because he was the top quarterback available. But for him to come in, it's going to make this transition to the Big Ten very nice. Very nice because their schedule's tough, but they're so loaded at every position. And then you have a guy with the experience at the quarterback spot like Dylan Gabriel, it gives them a chance to compete against Ohio State, Michigan, and the rest.
Yeah. Yeah. I hope they have the depth to survive a schedule like that because you're going to need backups all over the place.
Well, that's where the recruiting of Dan Lanning and his work has come in. So what do you think about – are you excited about the Dylan Gabriel debut, Burkhart?
Yes, I'm very excited. I would just hope that if he does come out a little slow, fans don't turn on him quickly, right? Because I think they have high hopes after what Bo Nix gave them the last handful of years. And, I mean, you look at, like, what Anthony Brown did for the Ducks. I mean, Duck fans kind of turned on him quickly. And it's not as if he was the worst quarterback that ever came through Eugene, but you probably would have thought it if you saw how Duck fans talked on social media. But, no, to your point, though, Chad, the way he moves, like, it's almost like it's not that he's a running quarterback, at least to me, but he has that ability to do it where a lot of quarterbacks don't. He's built a little bit in that Mazzoli mold, right? Like when I watched him during the spring game, I'm like, dude, from the hips down, he's got tree trunks, right? He's got strong legs. Jalen Hurts style when it comes to that strength that allows him to be a really powerful runner, and he gets the ball out quick. So there's a lot of skills there that he can do that Bo Nix couldn't, and I think, like you said, it's going to add to the dynamics of that offense, man.
No question about it. He threw for 30 touchdowns, just 6 interceptions, over 3,600 yards, and he started 12 games, and he's got a ton of experience. Let's see here. 12, 22, 25, 37, 49 starts. He's got 49 starts as a quarterback.
That's a lot of experience for a transfer, yeah.
I'm still mad, though, that the Ducks changed their schedule to accommodate the Civil War and got rid of the game at Hawaii. I mean, come on. Yeah, who cares? There would have only been 5,000 fans in that practice facility that they play in. But Dylan Gabriel getting to go back to the island in his Oregon debut would have been sweet.
Yeah, he completed last year, Godfather, 69% of his passes. That's nice. Bo Nix, 77%. But Gabriel was, throwing a lot of things downfield. Yeah, the production is there. He's money. And as a rusher last year, 12 touchdowns, 373 yards rushing. And
yards per carry was what?
4. Yep. So productive and sharp. So we'll see how things shake out. But they're the usual suspects. I mean, in the top 5, of course. Georgia, number 1, not a surprise. Ohio State, 2, not a surprise. Texas, 3, not a surprise. With Oregon at 4, Notre Dame, Ole Miss, Alabama, Missouri, Utah, who's got Cameron Rising coming back for another season, his 20th year as Utes quarterback, and then Michigan at number 10. And, of course, they don't have Jim Harbaugh. So we'll see how things shake out. But the Ducks, I mean, that schedule, Godfather, to navigate that. But, of course, what you have this year with the playoff expansion is that, you can afford maybe another loss. The opportunity will be there to get in and get into the mix. So their schedule coming up this year: Idaho, Boise State, both at home, and then at Oregon State. Bye week on the 21st of September. At UCLA, Michigan State at home, Ohio State at home on October 12th. That's going to be money. At Purdue, Illinois at home, at Michigan, Maryland at home, at Wisconsin. And then they finish up after a bye week at home against Washington. I mean, that's some heavy hitters right there.
They have 2 bye weeks then.
Yep.
That helps.
Yeah, 2 bye weeks.
That October 12th, man. Ohio State at Autzen.
How awesome
if
is
they
that
both
gonna
take
be?
care of business, you're looking at 2 top 4 teams. Oh my, that's a must-see game right there.
That might be the loudest we've ever heard Autzen Stadium, potentially.
Yeah.
What you want there is both teams going in undefeated.
Yeah. Absolutely.
Better make sure to limit the number of tickets Ohio State can get.
Yeah. They crazy.
They'd be showing up for that game.
It's going to be big time. And, of course, Oregon won at Ohio State a couple of years ago. And that was with Brown. Was that Brown at quarterback?
Was he? He might have been.
Yeah. Yeah, I think it was. All right, there you go. That's the top 25. We'll come back. We got to dig into Minnesota and Dallas a little bit, and then we'll revisit our discussion on Bronny. 503-248-0620 is your telephone number. We also have another 4-pack of tickets for the E-Pre race at PIR, and we'll give those away next. All right, Godfather, you're like this. Rachel has just sent in a note. It says Lawrence Peter Berra got the nickname Yogi during his teenage years when he was playing American Legion baseball. One afternoon, after attending a movie that had a short piece on India, a friend, Jack McGuire, noticed a resemblance between him and the yogi or person who practiced yoga on the screen. There you go.
Thank you, Rachel.
I had no idea.
Confirmed my.
I'm just disappointed it had nothing to do with Yogi Berra.
No,
Yogi the Bear.
Bear.
Yeah.
And Boo Boo.
And Boo Boo. And picnic baskets. So there you go. That's the latest from Rachel. Also, Sean and Sandy has chimed in. The name of that restaurant that Isaac and I stopped at was the Charburger Restaurant, which is right there off of I-84, Cascade Locks. Charburger Restaurant, right there by the Bridge of the Gods.
Yeah.
They got a nice little menu there, little gift shop that's nice, but the best part is the view. You can sit there in the booth looking out the window at the the Columbia River Gorge, which is spectacular.
Yeah, I've heard their burgers are really good. I can't remember ever stopping there. But.
What did they called it? Breakfast of the Gods. I can't remember the exact name of it, but at the Columbia River Gorge Hotel, I don't know if they still do it, but they had like this. It was like an 8-course meal. It was like called Food of the Gods or Feast of the Gods or something like that. But you would go out there and they would bring out. It would be like for breakfast, right? And then you would start out with one course. And then it would bring out another course, and you would go out. It was a whole event, and I'd done it a couple of times, but the food was amazing. And then all the ingredients were locally sourced, things that you would find in the gorge or nearby.
Mm.
But the honey and all the different stuff they did, it was pretty amazing.
Was that one of the hotels in Hood River, or was that?
No, it's right there off the Highway 84 called the Columbia River Gorge Hotel. So, no, not in Hood River, but just right there off the freeway.
Because Hood River has a couple of very famous old-style hotels that people love.
Yeah, and they have good golf up there, too.
Yeah.
Yeah, and sometimes the weather in Hood River is different than it is here. So if it's raining here in Portland, you can head out to Hood River and play golf and be able to do it dry. I learned that from Rev. He's like he knows more about golf than anybody I know. So he's the guy that I listen to when it comes to where to go when the weather here is not so good.
Well, the Dalles is that same thing. And, in fact, in Portland, I don't know, it was before Chris's time with the OSAA. Whenever there was a problem getting baseball playoff games in, they would just call to the Dalles. And Quinton Street Ballpark was a really nice ballpark in the Dalles. And you could go down there and play. You never got rained out in the Dalles. It just didn't rain there for some reason.
Interesting. All right, 503-248-0620 is your telephone number. Were you surprised that Minnesota won last night? You were expecting the sweep?
Yeah, it kind of was. Yeah, they impressed me with their. They had a good will to win. They didn't want to get swept. Apparently,
did you see them do anything differently with Luka and Kyrie, or was it just a matter of those guys missing shots?
Yeah, I think it was just on both sides. When Karl Anthony Towns is shooting as poorly as he was, and then all of a sudden he pops up hitting threes. Big ones, too, in the fourth quarter. And then, Luka and Kyrie can't make shots.
Yeah.
That's it. That's the story. It's what do they say? It's make or miss league.
If they can go back and win Game 5 at home tomorrow, how much pressure then shifts to Dallas for that Game 6?
I think a lot. I think that would be really fun to see that happen, to see how Dallas would react. And, it's like pressure, but then maybe a little panic because nobody wants to be that team that's the first one to blow a 3-0 lead. But, you have that one and you got to go to their place for a Game 7. You better win that one. That's just the way it always seems.
Yeah, really what we're talking about for Minnesota, if they can handle home court, can they win one more game in Dallas? It's going to happen at some point, right? Will some team eventually overcome the 3-0 deficit?
Absolutely, yeah. It's happened in hockey. It's happened in baseball. It'll happen in basketball.
This, to me, would be the series where you have the team with home court that lost the first 2 games at home. They get a game back in Dallas. They're going to go back home. They just need to get one more game back in Dallas. It's not I don't expect it to happen, but if this is the type of scenario that where you would be likely to see someone finally get it done, this scenario right here.
Yeah, and, you never know with these teams. it changes so fast. We've seen times where one of these teams. Well, I mean, you look at the Knicks; they were just rolling. And yeah, granted, they had some injuries, but all of a sudden you're not rolling, and all of a sudden things aren't going your way, and you just never know when it's going to happen. But that can strike any team at any time.
I can't believe the Knicks lost that series. I thought for sure
Yeah.
that they were going to get over the hump, but Indiana bounced back, and the injuries caught up to New York, and then boom, they're done.
Yeah.
Do you think the layoff will hurt the Celtics now? The long period of time of inactivity, is that going to be helpful or will it hurt them?
Well, I think what hurt them the most is just the teams they've played so far have not been good. They haven't been tested, really. I think this time of year, any rest is good rest, most likely. Yeah, you might not be ready for the first game. Say you give away a game at home. Well, they've done that before, so that's not a big deal for them. But it shouldn't last more than a game. If you got some rust, maybe a game to knock off the rust, but after that, should be fine. They're going to be heavily favored no matter who they play, right? Don't you think?
They'll be favored for sure. Yeah. As they should be.
Mm-hmm.
They should be. And they got a home court advantage, so that's going to be very helpful to them. They're very, you would expect them to play well. So let's just put it this way: it's their championship to lose, and if they blow it, Celtic fans have every reason to be upset about it.
Yeah, for sure. I agree.
And if you're Dallas, you want to handle business sooner rather than later, or Minnesota, even if they force a Game 7 or Game 6, playing Minnesota is no cupcake situation. They'll drain you of energy that you need to be Boston. If these teams jack around, we see this all the time where you have a chance to end it. I just hate that saying, too. I heard it again last night. I think Jason Kidd was talking about it. Well, it's really hard to close a team out. Really? You're up 3-0. You got the stranglehold. And now this series is going to be extended. There's a very good chance we'll get a Game 6. And before you know it, you expend a lot of energy against a physical team.
Don't you think it's been kind of a funny year in the playoffs, though, with teams that win either in 5 games or 4 games? But every game was close. It's not like you got just decimated or something.
This Minnesota-Dallas series, if Dallas had pulled out the game last night, it's a sweep, but I don't think that Minnesota's been dominated. We're talking about that. That's why this series could very easily Minnesota can get back into it because these are 2 evenly matched teams.
Yeah.
I mean, look at Dallas last night. They didn't have Lively, and look what happened. I mean, we're talking. These teams they're neck and neck.
It hurt them not to have Lively too.
No,
I thought
he's been. He's one of those players, man. His rim protection. He's been great on the offensive glass. They
all the lobs they get to him too.
And Luka, he's a great lob thrower.
Yeah,
guy's a great passer. Kyrie as well.
Oh yeah.
Okay, this was. I'll ask you about this about Kyrie because you and I have been trying to figure out what changed with this guy, right?
Yeah. You got an answer for me?
Well, there was a theory that was thrown at me by Mika, and her thought was maybe is it possible that the situation in Brooklyn was one that Kyrie was just not down with, and he wanted out of there, and so the antics with the absurdity, right? The comments, the no-show, he went AWOL, all that stuff. Do you think he was trying to manufacture his way out of town so he could get to a situation he liked?
I think that's always possible. Yeah, I think that's possible. But those antics didn't just start in Brooklyn.
But he was worse in Brooklyn than anywhere else.
Yeah.
He wasn't exactly beloved in Boston either.
Yeah, I know, or Cleveland, as a matter of fact, just from the way he left, I think. But, I think that's a pot. I mean, that's as good as anything else we figured out, Chad. I mean, who knows on this? I keep hearing guys who cover the league tell me the same thing. They say, I don't know what's turned this guy around, but he's turned around, and he's given great interviews. He's making sense. And he's showing that, as people said all along, he's not a dumb guy. He's a smart guy.
He's really smart.
Yeah.
He's also beloved by guys in the league. They all love him. Mm-hmm. He is a great player. I mean,
they respect his talent a lot.
His handle. I mean, he's one of the best handles I've ever seen in the league. Clutch player.
Ability to finish in the lane is unparalleled.
He's not a big guy.
No, and he gets his shots off, and he makes them.
It shows you the value. He's just as good. He's one of those guys that he looks like he's just as good with the left hand as he is the right.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, for sure. Yeah, there was a time when I watched him when I first started seeing him that I didn't know if he was left-handed or right-handed. But he's one of those guys. I scouted him in high school when I was doing some scouting for teams, and I thought he was left-handed the first time I saw him.
Wow.
Because he was going left all the time with his left hand. And
Were you impressed by him when you were scouting
oh,
him?
yeah. My only question at that time in high school was he could be too small, because he was small. He was not a big guy.
Well, that's what impresses me about what he does, because when guys are smaller like that, it's much like Jalen Brunson. Like you have to be so good with your handle, your footwork, every little trick. You need every little detail dialed in so that you can get your shot up over the top of the bigger guys.
Yeah, but he's a lot like Rod Strickland. Rod Strickland was that way too. Great ball handler, could get in the lane and create havoc because he could finish and pass. And that's, I think I've heard that comparison before, but Rod was really that way.
Is Rod one of the cooler guys you've covered?
Well, he may be one of the best. I love Rod Strickland. I just love the guy.
He was always honest in his assessment of what was going on.
Straight up, man, I'll tell you that. When he made a mistake, he said so. He would tell the truth. He didn't back off. He made mistakes and admitted to them, just up and down the line. I was so impressed because when he came to town, I thought, oh, man, here we go. Rod Strickland.
Well, he was known before he came into town. He earned the nickname Rod Strychnine because he was considered to be like a poison.
Yeah, and he had some DUIs, and I can still remember when he came to town the second time. He left, and then they brought him back that one year when it didn't work, and they brought him back. We were laughing after the press conference, and I said, Rod, please, get a chauffeur. You can afford it now. Just hire somebody to be your driver. Don't be driving around with a bottle in your front seat. I mean, it makes no sense. You're too good for that. Yeah, and he laughed. He said, yeah, you're right. I've learned my lesson. Okay. But just, I don't know. He's one of those guys. I haven't since walked into a locker room and have a guy hit his chest like he did, hit his chest and say, that one was my bad, guys. My bad. And he'd say it even if it wasn't, I think, sometimes to cover for teammates. He was that good of a teammate. I just liked him. I'm prejudiced, I guess, because I would always evaluate him within the parameters of I really liked him. And I didn't like all that many guys.
Did he play for Larry Brown in San Antonio, too?
Yeah. Yeah. Well, that was him that made the bad mistake in that
Game 7.
Yeah. Threw the ball out of bounds.
That's right. I watched that game a few weeks ago.
Yeah.
That was an all-timer. That series was epic.
What a comeback, too. I mean, they were dead in the fourth quarter.
I don't know how Portland won that game, to be honest with you. I don't think they know how they won that game.
I'm trying to remember, and there's been so many games, and so many things that happened, but didn't that start with a banked-in three-pointer by Jerome?
Yeah.
They were dead, and then he banks one in, I think from the top circle. It banks in for three, and it's all of a sudden, whoa, wait a second here. And then,
We've seen that before. The Blazers were going to beat the Lakers in Game 7 at Staples and move on to the finals and win a championship. Brian Shaw banks in a three, and that began the comeback when the Blazers suddenly went ice cold, and then Kobe and Shaq and the rest of the guys got the job done. Were you at that game? Were you covering the Lakers?
Not that one.
Not that one?
No. I was at the famous Cliff Robinson fumble the ball out of
bounds. I watched that game recently, too. Yeah. I cannot believe that Cliff Robinson did not handle the pass, and it went out of bounds. Had he made that dunk, they would have won that game. Just lay it in. Just hold on to the basketball.
Yeah, it was like a minute left. And
did Rod ever get pissed at you for something you wrote?
No, I don't remember that ever happening, really.
Did Cliff?
Oh, yeah. Yeah, Cliff and I had some words over time. But I like Cliff, too. In the end, I really liked him. I respected how long he played.
Yeah.
What an Iron Man he was. He never missed games.
No.
He was a tough guy.
He played for a long time.
Yeah.
He carved out a nice – yeah, he and Zach Randolph are the two guys who really carved out nice, long careers for themselves.
Yeah, and Cliff became one of the great defenders in the league. He could defend all positions. He was good that way. No, one guy that really the biggest argument I had was probably Jim Paxson. He didn't talk to me for quite a while because I was.
What could Paxson do that we did?
Well, he was sitting. I was, that's back in the day.
Oh, he said something to the coach?
Yes, the media was at courtside, so you could hear everything. And
is that fair game if you hear something during the course of a game?
Yes, absolutely.
Okay.
Yeah, as long as you're not like trying to eavesdrop or something, but if it's loud enough to hear, it's loud enough to use. And yeah, he had words with Jack Ramsey, and I just wrote about it the next day. And he said, "You didn't have to write that." I said, "Well, I didn't have to, but I did." And, so he kind of iced me out for a while, and then it finally just came back together. And now I speak to him quite frequently. And he's really a good guy.
All is forgiven now.
Yeah, I think so.
What was the deal with who was it? Was it Sheed that threw the towel at Sabonis?
Yeah.
What was that all about?
He was just mad at him for something, and during the timeout. Did you hear the Walton quote on that?
No, what did Walton say about that?
Oh, my God. He was doing the game, and he said he saw Wallace do it, and what he should have done is get up out of his seat, throw the headphones down, march across the court, and punch Rasheed Wallace right in the nose. And he said, I let down Arvydas Sabonis that day, and I let down humanity.
That's great.
Yeah.
How did most of the teammates love Arvydas? Did they like him?
Oh, he was very well liked. Yeah. Yeah. He was one of the principal.
Stoudemire loved him, right? Loved him.
Oh, best pick and roll player he ever played with, he said. Yeah.
This is the I actually happened to just find the actual quote, Dwight.
Oh, I was close. I think,
no, you were really close. It was, quote, if I was any kind of man, I would have got up from the broadcast table and walked across the court and punched Rasheed Wallace in the nose. But I let Sabonis in the game of basketball and the human race down that day.
He let the human race down, yeah.
That's awesome.
That's a great quote, isn't it?
That's just that's one of those moments you're like, oh, that's not good. But that was Sheed. He was a little bit crazy.
Yeah, all those people, that's why it's hard. All these people who think, oh, God, he's my favorite Blazer of all time and all that. It's like, if you were there, I don't think you would feel that. But you look back and you see his stats and what he did and all that, and you just watch some games. You'd think, wow, great Blazer. But
my read on Sheed was like, I was just frustrated because I felt like if he was a little more – if his mental game was stronger, he could have been one of the most dominant players in basketball because his skill set was amazing.
Yeah.
And his shot was unblockable.
He was just out of control too often, Chad.
And he was a great defender.
Yeah, he was. He could defend. He just – there are a couple things. Number one, he cost his team badly by being booted out of games too many times and getting teased too many times. But not only that, never wanted to take the big shot in the game. Just didn't want it.
Who was the biggest problem on that Trailblazer squad? Was it him or Bonzi or somebody else?
Oh, that's a tight race right there, him and Bonzi. I don't know if you could call it. Now, the worst guy was J.R. Ryder because he was a bad guy and a criminal too. He was just a bad guy through and through. He threatened, in Minnesota they traded him way after he threatened to have one of his guys take out one of the riders. It's like, I know people who can take care of you, that kind of thing.
Did you cover the story where, was it down in Oakland with the Warriors and Blazers where Stacey Augmon and...
No, I did. I wasn't there for that, where his guys.
His crew.
Yeah. Well, I do know that people accused Stacey Augmon of flashing a lot of gang signs during games.
Yeah. Yeah, I just always heard that Augmon was like, he was like legit tough. Like, that's not a guy you want to get on the wrong side of.
He went an entire season without talking to the media one year, and I don't think he ever got fined for it. He would just stay in the training room, wouldn't talk. But he was supposedly real big, like really high up in either the Crips or the Bloods, and I have no idea which one. But at the time, that was quite the thing. I think there were a lot of other players afraid of him.
I love Sabonis. He's one of my favorites. I enjoy watching him.
See, it's another guy that, he's like Ichiro. He didn't speak English, except when he was on the team playing cards and all that stuff.
He spoke English when he wanted to. Yeah,
when he wanted to. Yeah, Ichiro was much the same way as I understand it.
Yeah, it was great. I just saw him the first time I saw him. His first year was when the Blazers had just opened up Moda. So when I went, or at the time Rose Garden, when I went and saw him play, I was just like, well, I'd never seen a big man quite like him. He was a unique because the way his hands were so big, so he could handle the basketball.
Yeah.
He was a great passer. He could shoot. He was really ahead of his time. And then I respected him because he was the one guy that provided a little bit of resistance to the power of Shaq. Like, he really tried. It was really hard for him, but at least he put up a fight. That's a tough battle. But, I
Yeah.
mean, and Arvidas, I guess it just shows you the strength of Shaq, because Arvidas was a strong human being.
Mm-hmm.
And Shaq could still muscle him down low. The game was a different game back then. you
Yeah,
know?
it was.
Huh.
Yeah, and that was back when, Sabonis was a European, so he wasn't going to get calls anyway. And there was about a 4-year span in there where you couldn't get a call on Shaq anyway, because he would just overpower people, and there wasn't much you could do about it.
How was your relationship with Stoudemire?
Oh, great, real good. I had covered Damon in high school, and then I knew Willie, his father, from being at Portland State the same time he was there. He was there playing basketball. I'm telling you, his dad and his uncle, Willie and Charlie Stoudemire, terrific players.
Yeah, and his pops would come over and play racquetball with the fellas at the club that I worked out over in Vancouver.
Really? Yeah.
His dad was a great racquetball player, too.
Was he? Yeah, great athlete.
Yeah.
They both played football, too. In fact, Charlie played football at Portland State, too, and actually was in camp, I think was either drafted or free agent with the Lions. He was a very good receiver in football.
All right. Do we have another 4-pack of tickets to give away, Burkhart? Did I remember to do that?
I think you forgot.
All right. Do you want me to do it now, or do you want me to do it when we come back?
Do it when we come back. Suspense.
All right. We have a 4-pack of tickets for the E-Race coming up to PIR. We will give you a chance to win those next. 503-248-0620. Your chance at a 4-pack of tickets for the E-Race at PIR coming up next here on the Rip City Drive. All right, props to Chris Burkhardt. He has got an incredible update.
He's
on
gotten to the bottom of the story.
Yogi the Bear or Yogi Berra. What did you uncover, Burkhardt? This is epic.
So a lot of people think that, Yogi Berra named after Yogi Bear, but Yogi Bear debuted in 1958. Yogi Berra made his major league debut in 1946. So by the time Yogi Bear came out, he was already a household name. Now, Yogi Berra actually planned to sue Hanna-Barbera for the creation and defamation and then stealing his name. And Hanna-Barbera claimed that it was purely coincidental. That did not happen. But again, Yogi Berra was already a household name. So he said, hey, all we got to do is take the off the end, and we got ourselves a character. Now, here you go, Chad. This was written, Walter Brash wrote a book back in the day called Cartoon Monikers, an insight into the animation industry. And in that book, it says, quote, whether coincidence or not, it is difficult to find anyone else in the industry who believes it, that it was purely coincidence.
Yeah.
By the time Yogi Berra made his debut, Berra was a household name. As one of the top producers said, if there was no Yogi Berra, I seriously doubt there would have been a Yogi Bear. It's just too much of a coincidence for me.
Why would you name a bear Yogi unless it was Yogi Berra?
Yeah, exactly.
That's great. Because, like I said, he was a household name partly because he was the catcher for the Yankees, who were perennial world champions on television every week.
Yeah.
And he was a two-time American League Most Valuable Player. He was a great player at the time.
Hanna-Barbera was the massive cartoon maker. Like all of my favorite cartoons when I was little, all made by Hanna-Barbera.
Yeah.
Let's go out to Mitch in New Jersey. He had a great idea. How about having a roast for Angel Hernandez? Mitch, long time no chat. What's good, playa?
How's it going, guys? Thanks for taking my call.
Hey, Mitch, it's good to hear your voice, man. I miss you, buddy.
Yeah, I'll try more. I seem to be busier now that I'm retired.
What?
Got two bosses at the house. Yeah.
It's good.
February 29th, on my last day, my boys had to do a little speaking before I get up there and introduce myself, say goodbye.
Hey,
I
Mitch.
said to them, thanks for the embellished. Yeah.
Mitch, I'm telling you, I'm going to be in New York next week for the Dodger-Yankees series at Yankee Stadium. You need to come to New York, and you and I need to hang out at the Dodger game together.
Really? Oh, I'll look at is there a weekend series?
Yeah, Friday, Saturday, Sunday.
You're going to Saturday, right?
I'm going to all games, all three. But what I'm telling you is that whether it's at Yankee Stadium or somewhere in town, we need to meet. And since I'm going to be there, I feel like it would be a shame if we did not meet face to face.
Yeah, that'd be something.
I don't think he wants to meet you, Chad.
He delayed a little bit too
Oh,
long.
man.
You're going to be busy that weekend.
Well, it's now or never.
I'm going to be staying in Hell's Kitchen.
Oh, really, Manhattan?
Yes.
My niece just moved down to Lower Manhattan, just like a little north of Manhattan Bridge. But it's a little studio. It's a really, and what she's paying, you cannot believe it. All right, thanks. I'll get in touch with you.
Yeah, we got to do it, man.
Yeah.
Don't you think that'd be great, Mitch and I, to finally meet face to face?
Absolutely. I want a total report off that lunch.
That's
or
right.
that meeting.
That's right. And you can wear your Dodger gear.
He's trying to get me killed, right? I said to my boys, you want to have a roast me? Because we don't have enough time. So, I did my little 5-minute goodbye speech. I kind of miss the people, miss the dogs, miss most of the customers, 99% of the customers.
Hey, who's got better eyesight, you or Angel Hernandez? Who sees better, you or Angel?
Well, I don't think I made too many missed deliveries in my 36 years. So, I kept under at least 90% that I delivered to the correct houses. So I'm doing better than Angel.
Nice. Well, Mitch, I tell you what, man, I'm not joking. We got to connect. We got to make sure we connect when I'm there. I got to meet Mitch.
Absolutely.
But
pictures. I want pictures.
But isn't that a little bit shady, though? Like, when I said, Mitch, I'm going to be there, we got to get a chance to meet. He waited. There was like a 5-second pause.
I know.
30. That would indicate that he doesn't want to see me.
I think he was trying to think of an excuse.
You just left him speechless.
Yeah. He's never speechless.
Boy, Burkhardt, nice pull on the story behind Yogi. I now believe that Hanna-Barbera stole his name.
Thief.
You didn't believe me. You had to hear it from him. I told you that.
It's not that I didn't believe you. I just felt dumb because I really thought that his name came after Yogi Bear.
Huh.
But now it's the other way around. Yogi the Bear got his name from Yogi Berra.
Yeah.
My bad, Yogi. Forgive
You're
me.
boo-boo.
That was my boo-boo.
Yeah.
All right, have a good night.